When I think of the China-Africa bond, a few words and phrases immediately spring to mind. Mutual support, cooperation, friendship, and I can easily list examples. There is the Mombasa-Nairobi Standard Gauge Railway, the first modern railway built in Kenya in a century. This Chinese-built railway has significantly improved the movement of people and goods across the country. And in China, the Sino-Congolese Friendship Primary School in Yushu Tibetan Autonomous Prefecture stands as a symbol of goodwill. It was built with a 16 million yuan donation from the Republic of Congo after a 7.1 magnitude earthquake struck the region in 2010. During the COVID-19 pandemic, African children held signs reading, "China, we stand with you," to show their support, while African students in China joined local efforts to combat the virus. At the same time, China provided a significant amount of much-needed humanitarian assistance and medical supplies to over 50 African countries. These examples, and many more, reflect a vision put forward by Chinese President Xi Jinping. Welcome to Xictionary. In this edition, we will explore a China-Africa community with a shared future, a concept pivotal to China-Africa relations and cooperation.
In March 2013, not long after Xi Jinping became Chinese president, he headed to Africa for his first overseas visit. It was during that trip that he first put forth the idea of a China-Africa community with a shared future, and expounded on China's Africa policy in the new era based on the principles of sincerity, real results, amity, and good faith, and the principles of pursuing the greater good and shared interests.
中非从来都是命运共同体，共同的历史遭遇，共同的发展任务，共同的战略利益，把我们紧紧地联系在一起。
China and Africa, though geographically distant, enjoy a profound traditional friendship. In April 1955, at the historic Bandung Conference in Indonesia, leaders of new China and African countries transcended mountains and oceans to shake hands for the first time, marking the beginning of friendly exchanges between the two sides. In May 1956, Egypt became the first Arab and African state to establish diplomatic relations with New China, ushering in a new epoch in China-Africa relations. Since then, China and African countries have stood by each other through thick and thin. Today, 53 African countries have established diplomatic relations with China.
President Xi attaches great importance to China-Africa relations. He has paid 10 visits to Africa, which he described as a continent of hope and promise, including 5 visits as Chinese president. Since 2013, China-Africa relations have embarked on a fast track of all-round development, entering a new era of building a China-Africa community with a shared future. So what exactly is a China-Africa community with a shared future?
President Xi elaborated on this concept when he proposed building an even stronger China-Africa community with a shared future at the Beijing Summit of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation in 2018. This community is characterized by joint responsibility, win-win cooperation, happiness for all, cultural prosperity, common security, and harmony between humanity and nature. It lays out goals, charts the path, and offers action plans to achieve them. In 2021, amid the COVID-19 pandemic, Xi made 4 proposals on building a China-Africa community with a shared future in the new era at the 8th FOCAC Ministerial Conference. Fighting COVID-19 with solidarity, deepening practical cooperation, promoting green development, and upholding equity and justice. Over the years, thanks to consistent and unwavering support from President Xi. The vision of a China-Africa community with a shared future has been steadily enriched, along with significant progress in its implementation.
Simply put, a China-Africa community with a shared future is a salutary vision
And
a lofty goal for both China and Africa to strive for. It charts the course for China-Africa cooperation in the new era. This vision pursues common development, long-term stability, and sustained prosperity for both China and Africa through mutual respect and win-win cooperation. But how can a China-Africa community with a shared future come to fruition? The Forum on China-Africa Cooperation and the Belt and Road Initiative have emerged to play crucial roles in this regard.
inaugurated in 2000, FOCAC now has 55 members comprising China, the 53 African countries that have diplomatic relations with China, and the Commission of the African Union. Over decades, it has become an important platform for collective dialogue between China and Africa and an effective mechanism for pragmatic cooperation. Under the FOCAC framework, a series of practical China-Africa cooperation packages have been launched and implemented in succession, including 10 cooperation plans, 8 major initiatives, and 9 programs.
From trade and investment to industrialization and agricultural modernization, from infrastructure to green development, from poverty reduction to public health, and from technology to people exchanges. These initiatives have propelled China-Africa cooperation to expand rapidly in scope, scale, and impact, delivering tangible benefits to the people of both sides.
In the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, the Chinese-built headquarters of the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention stands as a new landmark. With state-of-the-art laboratories and comprehensive facilities under one roof, it will significantly enhance Africa's disease response capabilities. In Egypt, Djibouti, and other countries, Luban workshops have been launched to provide quality vocational training, empowering the continent's youth to meet the urgent demand for high-caliber personnel. Meanwhile, an increasing number of African products, such as Ethiopian coffee, Madagascan essential oils, and Kenyan avocados and flowers, are making their way across the seas, providing Chinese consumers with high-quality and affordable new options.
If you want to get rich, you must first build roads. This is not just a popular Chinese proverb, but an important takeaway from China's own development. Drawing on this experience, China has been actively working with Africa through the Belt and Road Initiative to lay the essential infrastructure groundwork necessary for driving economic growth.
Since its inception in 2013, 52 African countries and the AU Commission have signed BRI cooperation documents with China. Fruitful projects under this framework have transformed Africa's landscape and played an important role in boosting regional connectivity and integration. According to the white paper, China and Africa in the New Era, a partnership of equals, from 2000 to 2020, China helped African countries build more than 13,000 kilometers of roads and railways and 80-plus large-scale power facilities, and funded over 130 medical facilities, 45 sports venues, and over 170 schools. It also trained more than 160,000 personnel for Africa. According to the Chinese Ministry of Commerce, China has remained Africa's largest trading partner for 15 consecutive years, with bilateral trade reaching a record $282.1 billion in 2023, up 1.5% year on year. In the past 3 years, Chinese companies have created more than 1.1 million local jobs across Africa. The economic and trade cooperation zones Chinese firms have invested in or helped build in Africa have attracted more than 1,000 companies. Amid a new round of scientific and technological revolution and industrial transformation, the two sides have expanded cooperation in fostering new quality productive forces. In 2023, China's exports of new energy vehicles, lithium batteries, and photovoltaic products to Africa increased by 291%, 109%, and 57% year-on-year, respectively. Meanwhile, China's imports of African nuts, vegetables, flowers, and fruits increased by 130%, 32%, 14%, and 7%, respectively, compared to the previous year. On the international arena, China was the first country to explicitly express its support for including the AU in the Group of 20.
中非关系为什么好？中非友谊为什么深？关键在于中非双方缔造了历久弥坚的中非友好合作精神，那就是真诚友好、平等相待、互利共赢、共同发展、主持公道、捍卫正义、顺应时势、开放包容。
The 2024 summit of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation will be held in Beijing from September 4 to 6 under the theme of Joining Hands to Advance Modernization and Build a High-Level China-Africa Community with a Shared Future. Currently, both China and Africa are standing at a new historical starting point with exciting opportunities ahead. China is working to build a great modern socialist country in all respects and achieve national rejuvenation through the Chinese path to modernization, while Africa is moving at an accelerated speed toward the bright prospects envisioned in Agenda 2063 and making all-out efforts to build a new Africa that enjoys peace, unity, prosperity, and strength. On the path towards modernization, how will the leaders of both sides join hands again and draw up new plans for a better future? Let's wait and see.